For the sake of my YouTube channel and evidence for my court case, I'm now going to just run you through my diary. While I was working for my employer, I had several templates or methods that I used to keep record of my job and the things that I did from day to day. This here was a manual diary, and because the technology system came in, I also had an Excel template at the time I was working with all the cases that I dealt with while I was working as a court registrar. Now, the role that I was in my occupation, I was a deputy registrar for the Ministry of Justice. But the role itself has several names, but through my whole career, working from the Department of Courts and Ministry of Justice, I was a deputy registrar for the courts. Worked in several jurisdictions. My deputy registrar powers, they stay with you until you actually leave the department or it's been removed from you for whatever reason, maybe a disciplinary or something like that. But I was still a deputy registrar for the courts in this year 2015. So this diary here is actually the diary that kind of was like the last year that I worked for my employer, leading up to me being finally the unfair dismissal case. I'm just going to go through my day as evidence of what I do from day to day and what my week was like. So I'd go into the office early hours, sometimes finishing late, but it just kind of depends what your day was like. So this diary is my manual notes that I kept for myself, and just got what I did for the day while I was working for my employer. It's also evidence to confirm the things that I've said on my evidence on my YouTube channel and Facebook page. So this is actually my original diary. So I will just show a few things and kind of explain the job description basically and what I did while I was working from day to day. So this here was just what I carried every day until I finished at the end of the year. So over here on this side, and you'll see, I'll take a picture of it and put it on this clip, this episode. But over here, it's got dates to avoid. The dates to avoid is usually whether it's a public status date, like Good Friday or Anzac Day, Queen's birthday, those kind of dates. And other dates would be if the judges are not residing, or there's no judges for the day, or there's something that is specifically booked out for a day, and we're given those dates as a court registrar to not allocate any dates or any cases to that specific calendar of that month or week or whatever it is. Okay, we'll just go through. Now, let's see. All right, this here is I just had names of different people that I contact regularly, and it was just easier for me just to have a look at it. Sometimes I needed phone numbers to ring in from while I'm in court, and not at my desk in my office, my workstation. So that's why I had to have a manual diary. Over here I've got the DX court's address. Okay, so part of my role as a registrar when I'm dealing with files, whether I'm in court or in the office, if things needed to be transferred to another court, we're responsible, if that file's in front of you, I'm responsible to transfer that file to the other court as instructed by the judge or the community magistrate or the JP. We transfer those files accordingly to these courts. These are the courts in the different regions in my country that they were transferred to. So we're supposed to do that in the computer system, the transfer, and then also transfer the whole file, the original file, to the court, and that usually goes out in the mail either by the same day, or if we miss out the mail for that day, it goes out the next day, for obvious reasons, because sometimes we come out of court too late and the mail's already gone for the day. Now I'm looking at January the 14th. I'm covering the names of the cases that I had for this day because I don't believe it's relevant. But usually when you come into court, these names are already out in public for public view, for when the public walks in and they want to see who's in a certain court for the day. And this day I was in a sentencing court, and on that court list it has the name of the judge, the name of the prosecutor, the name of the registrar who's taking the court for the day. So that's automatic public information, and the names of the cases. Any names that's under suppression is blocked out. But other than that, it's for public, for anyone in public to come in and find out whose court case and what courtroom and what time. So that information is already out in the public for you. So on this day, I had a sentencing court day, and I had Judge J. Persing, and I had a police prosecutor, Stuart King, and I was the registrar for this day. So down here I've got written down the time that I start my day in the court, because obviously I came in early, had to prepare early. Sometimes I'm usually in there by about 8 o'clock prepping my court ready for it to be open on public hours. It kind of just varies, it depends. And then I just write down what time I finish for the day, just for my record. So this here was a sentencing court date. Here is what I normally did. This I put here my desk work, which is sometimes I have to do it in court, but most of the time you'd find, when depending how busy or how urgent the orders are, you're actually doing it in court while you're working or during your breaks, because that's how busy it gets. Is basically just the different documents that I'm responsible to actually generate when the judges make an order, or a JP, or a community magistrate. So these are the kind of orders that I write down to remind myself that when it's been requested. These orders usually are quite urgent. If it's urgent, it's got to be done before you go home, and usually that's the hold up. And when a register goes home quite late, because the orders itself takes ages to do. A dismiss of a charge after diversion, generate and issue MIP order or CP order, criminal procedure. This here was for if I have a mental health case where the Mental Health Act is being used, then we've got to generate this order. It's called mentally impaired person, and it's the Act 2003. So those are the kind of cases that I sat in. Other cases that I sat in or orders that, and then there was process, a warrant for committal of a witness. So that's when a court case, it's going to go to another hearing, and a witness is required for that hearing, whether it be judge alone or jury trial or anything like that. What else is there? An order to produce, and then the process of stay proceeding. Then we just got S189 order. That's for the Crown prosecution, and that's kind of urgent orders. Usually it needs to be done immediately. Then power of Solicitor General or Crown to amend charges. S191, power of solicitor. So basically I'm just proving that these are the kind of thing I did while I was working in my occupation. Every single court hearing that proceeds in court, it's law. is recorded. Doesn't matter how old it is or you know, how long ago it was, it's never deleted. It's supposed to stay in the court system. I'm the one that actually opens up court. I go get the judge. We open up court and, you know, go silence or stand for His Honour the judge or Her Honour. And then, you know, everyone stands up. So that's what a deputy court registrar did. On this particular day, I'm doing Pacifica Youth Court on the 21st of January 2015. Okay, so over here I'm doing a sentencing court for youth. Every single day in court, the list of the names of the parties and the list of the judge and the registrar and the courtroom is out in the public foyer every day for the public to come and view, find out who's such and such, what court. So that's, you know, public information, and it tells who's the registrar, what courtroom, who's the judge in this day, and who the police prosecutor are, which is quite important information. And also, yeah, in most cases, the public can actually go in and sit in a court hearing and observe. So I highly recommend that if you have no experience or no knowledge of how a court runs, I think it's really important. And then on this day, I did a CMS court. I'm doing different courts. Usually at this time when I was doing the courts, registrar courts, I really don't know what we're doing in advance. We did have a court activity team that was set up like that, where we moved around. We had a set up roster, but just because the roster said it, that's what we did, is not what we always did, because you could walk into your workplace during the day. You go home, come the next day, and your court's changed because staff is away, and then you have to either cover up for a registrar who's absent. So yeah, my role, it entailed being multitask in your case managing at the same time. Yeah, after a long years of experience, you're basically thrown in court when you're needed. They're like a backup for each other, or team player thing. It's part of the role. So on this day, so you can see I did that. Like, I was in court nearly every single day of the week. The odd time I had a day, because sometimes you had to ask for a day out of court, just so you can catch up with your other work that you had to do. You're case managing, so what you're doing is whatever file you have in court for the day, you are responsible for it. The file is transferred to the next registrar, who's responsible for whatever. But that's how it works. So when a complaint's come in about a file or something goes wrong, they normally look at who was the registrar who handled the file first, and then they've got to see what happened, what went wrong, and find out who's at fault. But there are days where you don't know in advance you're going to take over a court, so you don't get a chance to study the court the day before, or because that's what's usually is a preference, is to be able to have the file. That's what usually normally happens when the court staff are under pressure, or the workload is not huge for the week. The registrar gets a chance to spend some time and study the file and make sure, but sometimes that doesn't happen. There are times that I've gone into court, the case officer's away. The case officer usually case manages the file, knows exactly what needs to be done in advance, should have already notified the judge. Then the court registrar comes in, that's the person who takes the court, would step in, just take the court, run the court, and just follow the instructions of whatever the case manager or the case officer has left in the file the day before. But the actual case management of the court file, before it actually reaches the court in front of the judge, or before the judge gets it, the case manager is usually responsible to make sure all those things are done. And this day also had, so I must have had 2 days. Sometimes I'm thrown into two separate courts, like you could finish one court and then you're asked to do another court or fill in. So we're again going with the same week. Friday now we're up to. We had a morning tea for all the staff, and everyone goes to this. And because somebody is either leaving or something special is going on, usually the registrar sneaks away because we've got an open court, so we've got to go and prepare our court for the day. On this day I had a family violence court. I was in courtroom 3. Judge was Judge Mather. Police prosecutor was Eko Haronga. We just had family violence on this day. As you can see, I worked on Saturday, which means I also did a full 6-day week. So this is my week. And so this time I'm doing JP's list, which is Saturday courts. JP list is usually custody list, where they're for people who get arrested over the weekend, because it's law, they're not allowed to be in custody for a certain period of time. So I started at 8 and this court finished at 11:30. Usually registrar is usually by themselves. So they take the whole day as theirs. There's no one to back you up usually, because it's a Saturday court. Yeah, so this was my full week for that week.